I want to answer a question that was sent in by a young woman. She was single, and she said, Simon, what if I become such a person that I don't end up marrying anybody because no other guy ever feels like he would be able to date me or marry me? Now, this question, and I can understand the angle of this question, okay? But really, this question is really about standards. What this young woman is asking is really, she's expressing a fear in setting for herself a standard that is so high that it would deter other men from ever feeling that they were worthy of her. So this is important, right? When we talk about standards, okay, standards is always two-way. All right, so first of all, the standard is always about yourself, right? So she is saying, there's a certain standard I want to have about myself, the way that I pray, the way that I live, I act and pursue virtue and holiness and all those things. And this is the kind of marriage and relationship I would like to have. That is her standard, right? First and foremost. Now, then and only then can we talk about that second aspect of standard, which is, well, if this is what I expect from myself, this is now the kind of person that I would naturally expect that I would want to be in a relationship with, because they have to be a certain type of person who's pursuing a certain amount of holiness and living with a certain amount of virtue in order for him and I to be a good match and be able to fulfill the standard for my relationship and marriage and life that I have. So it's really about standards. This question is about, should I keep a high standard that is so high that it might deter people from wanting to be with me? Or do I lower that standard so that there might be someone out there that thinks, well, you know, she's someone like me and our standards match up a little bit. And even if it means she's having to lessen or lower her standard, really that's her question. Do I keep it high and risk being alone forever? Or do I lower them just so that I can meet someone that feels that we'd be a good match? Amen. Now look, I'm sorry to confirm this young lady's fear, okay? And I'm sure this is a question many people have. But yes, there is some truth to this statement, okay? But by the way, it's not a bad thing. I would actually say it is a good thing if you have such a high standard that you deter a certain amount of people from wanting to pursue you or date you, okay? Some of the best women that I know, whether they're in their late 20s, their 30s, or even their early 40s, are still single. Now, it's not a surprise to me that they're still single, because they have set for themselves such a high standard that there has not been a Catholic guy out there that, number one, has either felt that he would be worthy of a woman of her standard, or secondly, she has not felt like there has been a man out there she has met who has pursued her that matches her standard, okay, for what she wants in a future spouse. Now, I'm not making this stuff up, okay? This is all from my lived experience of being in ministry for 10 years, being friends with many, many Catholic guys, and also by mentoring and coaching Catholic guys, okay? But these are things that I'm not making these up. These are things that I have heard young men say to me about the girls that they have met, or that I've heard from young women about what guys have said to them when they have discerned that they don't feel that they're worthy of them or didn't want to date them after they had a date or two or spent some time in friendship. I have heard guys say when they meet a girl, I can't lead her, right? Now, in the Catholic understanding of relationships and marriage, okay, St. Paul says in Ephesians 5 that the husband is the head of his wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his bride. So as Catholic men, we are called to headship, right? And that simply means we are the chief servants. We're meant to lead through service, right? To lay our lives down for the sake of the woman that we love, or our bride. And so some men have said, you know what, I feel so inferior before this beautiful young woman who's so holy and so virtuous that I don't believe I'm worthy to lead her. I don't have the capacity to lead a woman of this standard. Or he might simply say, she's just too good for me. I'm still struggling with this sin and that vice, and I'm hooked on this particular problem. And so I believe I'm not good enough to date a woman of this standard, right? I remember one guy saying to me once, he was like, I'm still struggling with masturbation and pornography and impurity. And then I just met the most beautiful young woman, and she was she just looked like an angel. Right now, I know that she's not an angel, right? But I understood, right? His expression was simply, what he was saying was, she was the purest thing he'd ever seen. And he said to me, as beautiful as she was, and as much as I would have loved to pursue her, he said, I knew that I just couldn't, because I wouldn't want to risk being in a relationship with a woman as pure and innocent and beautiful as her, and then risk me bringing my baggage and sin and struggle in and onto her, and then harming her purity, right? Or, guys have just said, look, I don't deserve her, or maybe very simply, as I heard recently, I'm scared of her. I'm scared of how self-aware she is, how mature she is, how advanced she is in so many things, and I just don't feel like I'm good enough to be with her. Now, for many of these situations, this Catholic guy might be right in discerning, okay, that he wasn't ready to date a woman of that standard, okay? It would be a lot easier for him to pursue a woman whose standards were less and who was willing to basically receive the love of any guy who showed attention to her, rather than a woman who has a high standard, who knows what she wants. And this is basically a constant tension that I see amongst young Catholics when it comes to dating and relationships. It's a constant tug of war of, do I raise my standard and risk being alone, right? Because no one thinks they're worthy of me, right? Or do I just lower my standard so that people think I'm a possibility to date? And if I lower my standard and stop expecting so much of myself and others, there's a lot more people out there that I think I could meet and fall in love with. But my standard up here is hurting me, and that's probably why I'm still single. My response to this is, it is a beautiful thing if your standard is so high that you are deterring 95% of the population, even if they are Catholic. Amen? Because you don't want to marry 100 guys. You don't need to marry 10 guys. You only need to marry one man. There only has to be one guy. In fact, right, there only has to be one guy out there that you can meet and who he believes your standard matches his standard, and you believe your standard matches his standard. And if you're both prayerful and virtuous, and you've been praying for your spouse, for your future spouse, if the Lord leads you two together at the right time, okay, then that's perfect, right? You don't need to be dating, someone every weekend. It's actually easier if your standard is high. Right? It makes the dating process so much simpler, because you're weeding out people that are not going to give you the kind of life, relationship, or marriage that you deep down dream of and desire and deserve as well. Okay? Now, but you might say, okay, but what if I really am going to end up all alone though? Like, Simon, I really think I'd rather just have like a man than have no man, right? Well, look, I don't know what God's plan is for your life, and I can't pretend, I can't promise you here, right, to say, look, you just be the best you can be, and you wait and you keep that standard, and God, 100% I can guarantee you, is going to send you the right man at the right time. I'm sorry, I'm not God, right? I am not God, and I don't know what He's going to call you to. He may call you to the single life, to religious life, to consecrated singleness. He may call you to that, okay? And we must always be open to whatever it is that God is calling us to, okay? However, I need to scream this from the rooftops. As a young Christian, man or woman, okay? I mean, I know this was asked by a woman, but this question can apply to men as well. But as a young Christian who is single, you are never alone. You are never alone, Okay. Now, this is easier said than lived. Okay, and you might be like, Simon, that's easy for you to say. You're married with with 3 kids. How easy is it for you to say, you're never alone. You've always got Jesus, and you can still be happy. Well, yes, it is easy for me to say that. Okay. It's easier for me to say that. Okay, because yes, I have a beautiful wife. I have children. However, and I've said this over and over and over again. And my wife Madeline knows this about me, and I know this about her. We can never fulfill each other. Amen. She's not my satisfaction, and I am certainly not hers. And so even in my marriage, I need to continually feed and drink, right, from Jesus Christ alone. He and He alone is the satisfaction of every desire and craving of my heart for love. And if I don't turn to Him, okay, to be filled, then I will crush Madeline, and she will crush me, because we're going to be trying to find our ultimate fulfillment from each other when we know that we can't. Okay. So you are in an intimate relationship with Jesus Christ right now. There is no such thing as being completely alone as a Christian person. Okay, so we do often believe that I'd be happier just with somebody rather than being alone. And the answer to that is absolutely not. There is no way that you will be happier with someone is less than the standard that you designed for yourself. It will harm you in the short term, and it will absolutely harm you in the long term as well. Okay? Lastly, I would encourage you, okay, for the young woman that asked this question, and anybody else that might be asking this kind of question, I would, if you will permit me, okay, and I'm only gonna present this question to you because it takes one to know one. And I think I had a streak of this definitely when I was single, but I would encourage you to pray about, is there a streak of pride where this question is flowing out of, right? To be asking a question like, can I become too good for everybody else? Okay? Is it really possible as a human being to become too good for everybody else, right? Well, Jesus even says in Mark chapter 10, verse 18, He says, why do you call me good? Nobody is good but God only, right? So we know we are always going to fall short of perfect goodness. When I don't really think there's a such thing as a person ever being so good, so perfect, so holy that no one will ever be worthy of us. Okay? That's probably a pretty unhealthy mindset and attitude to have. But look, when if it is God's plan, right, that you do enter into a relationship, if you're anything like me, okay, I entered into my relationship with Madeline with some arrogance, some cockiness, some pride, thinking, she's so blessed to have me. I know chastity, and I speak about theology of the body. I'm giving talks on this topic. How blessed is she to have me? Okay, and I think I've shared this in other places as well. That's not new, but this kind of attitude it reeks of pride and arrogance, right? And I definitely I suffered this weakness. But can I just share, like I experienced? Okay, there is nothing more humbling than when you enter into a relationship with someone that you are madly in love with, and they're madly in love with you, and then you start actually, being in a relationship with them. And this funny thing about love is your weaknesses and your wounds begin to surface, and they are on display, and you are forced to start taking these masks off, okay? And they begin to see the real you. And the real, okay, when you are in a sense, when you are just completely as you are, right? When you're in a relationship and people see you for exactly who you are, and they encounter your weaknesses, and they see your pride, and they see your anger or your lust or whatever it might be, okay, that's pretty confronting, and it humbles you very quickly, okay? And it was my relationship with Madeline that I think it was such a blessing, because it really humbled that attitude in me. And I very quickly realized, you know what, it's not actually Madeline who's the one who's blessed here. It's actually me, right? I'm the wounded, weak man who is being blessed by this woman's pure, merciful love. Amen. So I'll just be very cautious about that attitude, because I had it, okay, of saying, you know, what if I become too good and my standards too high that I'm never going to meet anyone? I would say, look, pursue the highest standard possible that you can possibly manage. Be as holy as you can be, and deepen your prayer life as much as you can. Live with as much virtue and charity as you possibly can, because we're never going to be perfect, and we're never ever going to be too good for anybody else. Amen. But certainly keep that standard high. My advice to you would be, while you're single, pursue God in prayer with everything you have. Work on yourself, okay? Identify these vices you might need to weed out before you do and enter a relationship with someone, and devote yourself in the season of singleness to service. Give of yourself, love others, okay? Bless other people with the gift of yourself. Set a high standard, okay? In fact, if you're watching this video or listening to this podcast, okay, I want you to really ask yourself, do I have a standard as high as possible, or have I allowed the fear of being left on the shelf, or being unmarried? Have I allowed that fear to influence my standards, and have I lessened them in the hope that I can grasp at even some relationship, because any relationship is better than no relationship? Okay, well, we got to renounce that lie right now. You are already in relationship. You are in relationship with Jesus. There is no such thing as a Christian being by himself or herself. You already have all the love that you could possibly need or crave or desire or want. It is all in Jesus. Human love is merely an overflow, blessing, and supplement to what Jesus already wants to give you. But just know that, okay? Rest in the peace. Be content, right? St. Paul says in Philippians chapter 4, verse 11, I have learned in all things to be content. Amen? Whatever state of life you're in, learn to be content. If you're married, be content with being married, right? And don't be looking, I want to go back to being single and flirting and all this, right? Or, if you're single, be content with being single. That is the season that you're in. Be content with it. Amen. God bless you. I hope that was helpful. I'll be praying for you, and thanks for that question. God bless.